Mouth yoga. When I woke up this morning, I heard strange exclamations coming from the living room. They sounded like extended yawns or a prolonged version of the ah you make for the doctor. I put on my bathrobe and walked down the steps to see what the noise was about. He said, and then came another, followed by an ah. I'm doing my mouth yoga, he explained, mouth open wide, ready to make another sound. Hal started speech therapy a couple of weeks ago, and his therapist had given him homework. Aside from doing mouth yoga, he's to read aloud 30 minutes a day, preferably from one of his own books of poetry.
What have they done for you lately? Nothing. They have no feelings, they get candy, yet you keep feeding them, but you never offer me anything.
The idea is to exercise his mouth and vocal cord muscles, just like he exercises his legs. Ah, he calls out, this time with a longer emphasis on the H. Meanwhile, the dog is lying on the sofa in a spot of sunlight, oblivious to the unfamiliar sounds going on around her. Observing this domestic still life, Hal doing mouth yoga and the dog sleeping in the sun, I walk into the kitchen to make coffee. So even though it's hard to understand Hal's speech, he's supposed to talk even because of the muscles in his throat. And the muscles are connected to swallowing. So it's very important for those muscles to be working instead of him not ever talking.
I'm getting about silence.
He can't take a vow of silence. So a lot of people with Parkinson's don't talk at all because people can't understand them. And it's frustrating and it's hard, but he's got to talk.
Does God exist?
There's no proof that God is up there, Mother said, but no one can prove that he isn't.
Only the dead know, but they're too busy being dead to tell us.
So if I were you, I would go to temple and play it safe. If he's dead, all you lose is the time you spent praying. But if he exists and you didn't go, you'll be in big trouble. You won't like it in hell.
You never liked hot weather.
And then how can I visit you? Angels aren't allowed inside.
So that's interesting. So Hal's God is a different kind of God from my God. Yours is an angry one, right? What?
It's the same God.
It's still the same God, but you're... Because sometimes... Excuse me. Sometimes he says that I pray for things that I shouldn't be bothering God about. Right?
Right.
That God's busy, so you shouldn't be praying about anything unless it's really important, right? What? That's Jewish belief, he said. Where it's a more Christian belief to pray for parking spaces, right?
Right.
Although your sister pays for parking spaces. Or she sends positive thoughts to get a parking space.
Does it work?
She says it does.
Well, you know, the poem that was the most famous, I think you did it on MTV, you'd always start off by saying, "This is my performance poem."
Yeah.
Chopped off arm. Don't stick your hand out the window, Mother said. Another car could sneak up on you and chop it off. Then your father would have to stop, stick the severed piece in the trunk, and drive you to the hospital. It's not like your telescope. The pieces snap together. A doctor will have to sew it back on. You won't be able to wear short sleeves. You wouldn't want them to see the stitches.
You know the poem better than I do.
Well, who could forget that poem? That's one of the classics, you know. Was it love at first sight with you and Minter?
Yeah.
I thought it was. Was it? I know it was love at first sight for you with her, but it was love at first sight for her with you too?
Yeah.
I guess you never met anybody like you. This way. Stay on the trail. Well, then there came the time that that we realized that, you know, something was going on with Hal, and I think it was Minter who told me. You know, of course, that was an amazing thing too. Just the fact that you know, Hal had such a loving man with, and had written so many poems about his different girlfriends who didn't appreciate him. They were a laugh riot, but they also broke your heart. And then he met Minter, and it wasn't soon. It was soon after that. It wasn't long that that it was revealed that Hal had Parkinson's.
They say that most people had Parkinson's before they were diagnosed.
Yeah, most people had Parkinson's before they are diagnosed.
And about 5 years.
Usually it's 5 years. It could be longer than that.
More than that. But it's hard to diagnose. So they're making progress before if you react positively to medicine and Parkinson's.
So one way they diagnose it is if you respond to the Parkinson's medications. So when Hal found out he had Parkinson's, he was relieved to, before it was kind of like a nameless disease, and then once he found out it, there was a relief because there was a name for his illness, right?
I thought if I was ever attacked by cancer cells or Parkinson's, we would say, hey, get out of here. We already got this guy. You need cancer.
So wait, that's your thought, right?
Yeah.
So Hal has a thought. He actually wrote a poem about this, that if cancer ever, this is what he just said, that if cancer ever shows up in his body, it's going to be, say, this body's occupied already.
Occupied.
The cancer cells, it's going to be, say, occupado. The the cancer cells will just run away because they're like terrified. This body's taken.
Yeah.
Do you have a poem about that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The Parkinson Shuffle. I can hear Hal shuffling around the house. It's his signature step. the Parkinson step, when the foot slides instead of lifting off the floor. It makes my heart almost stop when I hear the shuffling get faster, as if there's going to be a stumble or a full-fledged fall. Don't worry, Hal always says. I'm not going to fall. But I do worry all the time. This makes being at home hard, listening for that almost fall. While I'm writing or reading, cooking dinner, or feeding the dog, I listen to Hal when he walks. Inside the house, he doesn't use a cane like he should because it's one more thing to keep track of. And when the cane falls, as it often does, it scares the dog. So he prefers to hold on to furniture and walls, shuffling between them.
Yep, so don't let it rock back, Hal. There you go. It just means you'll just lift a little less, but that's okay. You're still getting strength, and you're getting strength in a better technique than when you rock back, you use other muscles. So Laura's helping you facilitate a certain muscle, okay? Gluteus medius. Wait, say it again. How? What? You said something muscle?
I don't know.
You didn't know you had that muscle, did you?
Yeah.
You do. You do. There's 3 glutes in there. Maximus, medius, and minimus. Yep. All right, so we're going to talk about how unstable you felt, okay? So I'm going to have you tell me on the thing, how unstable did we feel there? Perfect. Moderately unbalanced? 7? Yeah? All right. Nice job. That's where I want you, 7 or 8. Good job.
The hardest walks are after he's been sitting for a while, when the body becomes more stiff and rigid. He takes deep breaths before attempting the first post-sitting step, as he's learned to do in physical therapy, hoping it will propel him to a second and third. He wears heavy-duty shoes, Doc Martens, and they still don't last long with all the shuffling, even with the thick, tough soles. We go to a special, old-fashioned shoe store, the kind that hardly exists anymore, where the salesman wears a tie, sits on a small stool, and measures your feet, presses the foot inside the shoe to make sure of the fit. The salesman knows our names, first and last. He even remembers the last time we were there. Come on, Gertie girl. Come on. Come on. Oh. She's a ham, that's for sure. So someone said you need to get a service dog, and then we said, well, we have a dog, and Hal's like, she's our service dog, meaning that we need service after her, because she's a little anxious, and I didn't realize she's the typical poodle. I didn't realize they were this anxious or this energetic or this stubborn, but she's calmed me down a little bit. She doesn't have a sense of time. I thought you were going to say she doesn't have a sense of humor. She has a sense of humor, but she doesn't have a sense of time. So, give an example of that.
I'll give examples.
What?
I don't give examples.
Oh, you don't give examples. All right. Anyway.
I first found out about Hal at the New Eurekan Poetry Cafe. It's a place that I always wanted to go to. I've heard about it, probably because my uncle had been a poet. He was a police officer and a detective, but a poet. And it was always on my mind to go to the New Eurekan Poetry Cafe. And it must have been 20 years ago, maybe more, 25 years ago. I went with Jonathan, my son. We went on a Saturday night to the New Eurekan Poetry Cafe. It was packed with people. It was unbelievable. And I heard Hal. And that was it. I said, this is something I've never heard before. I love this. This is wonderful. So I just tried to follow him. I bought his books, you know, and most of them are signed. One of them is still not signed. You have to sign Father Said. I don't have your signature in Father Said. And I realized we had a lot in common. We both were teachers. I taught in Queens. Hal taught in Queens. He taught the learning disabled. I taught the learning disabled. His parents lived in Great Neck. We lived in Great Neck for many years, and unfortunately, we both have Parkinson's disease, so we have a lot in common. Something's good, something's not so good, but that's the way it is.
I when I was younger, and it took me a while to get started.
He was shy, yes, a little shy. And you know what I remember about you the most? When Mom used to make lunch and she would put out a devil dog for you, and I wasn't allowed to have one because Hal was skinny and he was the middle child and was allowed to get a devil dog. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember trying to take the macaroon.
Oh, and I snuck to get macaroons in the middle of the night. I wasn't allowed to get them, and I cut my finger, and I had to wake up our parents in the middle of the night to take me to the hospital. And the whole way to the hospital, Mom was yelling, "Why did you take a macaroon? Why were you in that can?" as I was bleeding on the way to the hospital. So that was one incident that Hal remembers and I very well.
She was very smart.
She was very smart. She
She
was my best friend. I felt she grew up without a mother. She lost her mother when she was 3. And I felt that I related to her. And eventually they moved to Great Neck to be near me and my 3 children. Some of the poems I could visualize her, especially like keep your hand out of the window, keep your arm out. I could visualize her saying some things that I didn't realize was funny that in the poem, I could hear her saying, you know, shut the window, or stop chewing gum, it's going to get in your hair, or, you know, things that Hal wrote. I do visualize her saying some of them.
It's called Crumbs. Don't eat any more food in your room, Mother said. You'll get more bugs. They depend on people like you. Otherwise, they would starve. But who do you want to make happy? Your mother or a bunch of ants? What have they done for you? Nothing. They have no feelings. They'll eat your candy, yet you treat them better than you treat me. You keep feeding them, but you never offer me anything. Now, what son is not going to listen to his mother after she does a number on him like that? It's perfect. It's just perfect.
Oh, right.
I love it.
Oh, I'm glad.
She could say to him, listen, Hal, if you eat food in your room one more time, I'm going to kill you. You're going to have to eat for the next 3 days. You're going to be punished, and you're going to have to eat your meals in the bathroom. That's it. I'm not going to let you take one bit of food back up to your room because I can't stand it anymore. But she knows that if she talks to her son like that, it's going to be, yeah, Ma, in one ear and out the other. So she makes him feel guilty. She plays upon his love for she knows he loves her. She knows it, but he's a kid. And she plays upon his guilt, and I can only assume it works because there's not, at this point, when you have a child who just won't listen, that will get them. Oh. In fact, you're going to be at my funeral. I selected, I won't even discuss which one I picked, but your brother Jonathan, I'm talking to my daughter, he has all the plans for my funeral, and one of your poems is going to be read when they lay me to rest. Oh. In Queens. In Queens. Yes, I already bought my plot at Queens, the old Montefiore Cemetery in Queens. So I'll be back in Queens, and we're going to read your poems. What could be more? What could I say? From the beginning to the end.
My thoughtful son, I can't kill myself, Mother said, because it's prohibited by Jewish law. So I'm relying on you to do it for me. And you've been doing a good job. You already took a few days off my life when you got mud on your shoes and left a trail all over the house. I had to get on my knees to scrub the floor, and I thought to myself, my son is only trying to be kind. He's shortening my life so I won't have to worry about old age.
But if he really cared about me, he'd put an end to me right now. And Hal used to read that poem with this marvelous deadpan. But I also think that, that's the issue of Hal having created a persona and a character. His mom really is, it's both Hal's mother, but it's also a fictional character that he created. And I think there's certain stereotypes about Jewish mothers so that people don't really realize that this is a character that Hal is creating, the way Shakespeare created Hamlet. It's not, Hal will make it seem like just reportage, but I think it's always been more than reportage. It's been that kind of process that an artist goes through of trying to hear a real voice or a real cadence. And I think, both of us agreed at that time. I think we didn't see a poem as like so much a beautiful artifact that you embellish and you make it more and more refined. We saw that maybe poetry is a force that exists between people. It's a way that people communicate without knowing it, and you just really kind of try and tap into that.
I always wanted to be a poet, but I never knew exactly what to write about. And I thought words came out of the sky, and then I had a realization that you can talk poetry, and conversation, dialogues with friends, with poetry. All you had to do was copy it down. So poetry was not that vague. It was all among us, it was everywhere.